of Internal Affairs and previously served as secretary. You can learn more about Barbara at her website, beyoungbooks.com. She is presenting Manifesting Your Book. Let's welcome Barbara Young.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Margie. You covered it. And I appreciate that. I am really thankful for all the members that are here, and I see some friends and colleagues. And I imagine a warm welcome is needed for community guests. Does anybody want to identify that you are a guest here, never attended? Okay, in spirit, we appreciate all guests. I just want to say a couple of things. They're kind of like allowances and assumptions that I'm asking your permission for. First of all, I am a nurse, and I do feel necessary to disclaim, though I work in writing very much related to health. We don't have a microphone, huh? I didn't even realize that. I apologize. Project my heart. Okay. So a lot of my writing is health-based, but it's not medical advice. It's not even nursing advice. It's just I'm holistic in my thinking, and that gives me a lot of leeway. I use a lot of metaphor, and I think there's poets and other writers in here that would understand. Metaphor is awesome because it doesn't have the definitions and that limiting that a lot of other words do. So, you know, it carries information to the reader, but it also allows for their experience. And I also make up a lot of words. And and I find, you know, as writers, vocabulary is our sandbox. And what's exciting is that it's very changeable. Words and definitions and even spellings come and go. Like birds used to tweet and now people do that. And bad somehow became really good. And then whoever would have thought it would be socially acceptable to admit that you Google? I mean, so anyway, that's why words are powerful, and they elicit emotion, they carry emotion. Words connect us through vibratory nature that they, and we will talk a little bit about that. So I also say y'all. Please forgive me. I didn't make up that word, but it is amazing how functional and useful that word is. So I figure all this is okay because I'm a manifester. I consider that I access the realm of the unseen and the seen, and I facilitate bringing that into and closer to the realm of concepts and senses and things, which is more tangible. Does that make sense? Okay. Y'all are manifestors, and we do it without knowing it, and it's something we can't help. But what I'd like to do is raise awareness today with this presentation and help you connect with that awareness and your guide so that you can be more effective and more resilient and direct that skill and that connection to your manifestation skills. I've written in a couple genres, and that's just because I'm learning. I have been published in short story and this nonfiction book, which is The Heart That Rocks Healthcare. And it does address nurses and stress primarily, but the concepts that I'm going to pull out of there today, the ABC technique and the AW success process, are universal. These are all self-awareness, self-regulation techniques, and manifesting concepts. And I'm going to put them into the realm of writing. And I apologize, a lot of my stuff is in this direction, so I don't want to forget you guys. So manifesting your book, there's a clue here that helps you manifest. Everybody see that? Can you read it? Or do I need, okay. Manifesting your book, heart inspired you. That's the big clue of how to manifest. As I said, words are a medium. They have vibration and energy. They carry information. They give us rhythm and movement. They can elevate and inspire. They can create. They can be metaphorical. You, as the amazing person that you are, can connect to your heart and actually make words heal. So that's an important power that you have. So speaking of words, metaphors, and language, well, y'all can't even see this. I apologize. Whoops. Jabberwocky poem.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
So I'm glad to hear it brings to mind y'all the same experience it does me. I'll go ahead and read it since it's illegible there. Jabberwocky by Lewis Carroll. 'Twas brilling in the slithy toads, did gyre and gimble in the wave. All mimsy were the burrow groves, and the mome rafts outgrave. Beware the jabberwock, my son, the jaws that bite, the claws that catch. Beware the jub-jub bird, and shun the frumerous bandersnatch. He took his vorpal sword in hand, long time the maxome foe he sought. So rested he by the tum-tum tree, and stood a while in thought. And as in Euphorus thought he stood, the jabberwock with eyes of flame came whiffling through the tulgey wood and burbled as it came. 1, 2, 1, 2, and through the vorpal blade went snicker-snack. He left it dead when with its head he went galumphing back. And hast thou slain the jabberwock? Come to my arms, my beamish boy. O frabjous day, Callooh, Calais, he chortled in his joy. 'Twas brilling in the slithy toves, did gyre and gimble in the wave. All mimsy were the burrow groves, and mome rafts outgrave. What language? Thank you. I learned this, I don't know, second grade or somewhere, a very long time ago when we actually had to memorize it. So it was an inspiration to me back then. But I want to ask you, what language is it in? Yeah. Who's the ideal reader?
Child.
Potentially, but there's a kid in here that really likes it to this day. So true. And what is the intended experience for the reader?
Fun with the sounds.
Yes. Even if you don't know it, you just laugh and giggle and you feel it.
Wonder and triumph.
Thank you. Wonder and triumph. Those are very good words, speaking about the power of words. And is it a successful communication to the reader?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm not really going to teach y'all how to write today because I'm still learning myself, but I know all of those are important when you write. To know your ideal reader, speak to them, and create, even if it's a gibberish word, somehow you imbue the meaning and the energy behind that, and you put it in position to other things, and it's beautiful how a clever reader will pick up on that. So I'm going to show some of my words that I've made up, and I call them differnitions instead of definitions. So one of the things is as we're going through today, we're gonna do some exercises, light meditation, sort of awareness things, and I want you to pay attention to whether you're nowhere or whether you're now here. It's a state of being. So, and as we go through these things, I'm sure that you're gonna rethink about things that you've made decisions about, and remember, which is to connect with something that was once whole. So it was once a part of you, but you're gonna reconnect or remember that. And you're gonna realize, which is to make actual and tangible what you call real. Inspiration is bringing in breath, life, bringing spirit into the body via the breath. And just kind of tune in right now. Are we all alone? Or are we all one? Yeah, we're one. And that's our choice. And choice is another power we have. Community. community with unity. This is how you write to your reader, is in the spirit of unity, and you're communicating, which is kind of with unity, with the community. And this is a word that's scary to people, and we say it in our language, responsibility. And I say responsibility, because responsibility feels like this burden where we have to take full blame. Well, if you can't take full blame, you can't risk taking full blame, you can't take full credit. This is an empowering word. Responsibility is the ability to respond. Did you have a?
That put something in my head about
Yes.
accountability, because.
Accountability,
Yeah.
and yes.
Because when we're trying to write a statement that really makes somebody own something,
Mhm.
who's responsible and who's accountable?
Yeah, so there's a play on words on that level, and I actually thought you meant accountability, which is the
Well, I'm
ability.
saying how you're doing it.
Yeah, and thank you, because this is a way to be aware with your language. So looking at accountability means you have the ability to account. But does that mean do math? Or does that mean make amends?
Mhm.
Bring things to a neutrality or to a win for all.
Mhm.
So this is something that I became aware of a long time ago, the power of words. And Don Miguel wrote the 4 Agreements. Has anybody heard of that? I actually have the 5th Agreement book with me. It contains the 4 agreements in it, and I'll have it available if y'all want to look at it. The first agreement is be impeccable with your words. And this, I think, where do I point this? I think this
Down the bottom.
idea of having awareness around your language is very, very important, because you're conveying all the time. We all know about body language and, show, don't tell, and that kind of thing. But the voice projects, and some people's does. I hope I'm getting to the back of the room. But it has rhythm, in the vibration. And this is very, very important, because you can touch somebody in a different way by the tone of your voice, whether it's coming from here, whether it's coming from here, whether it's coming from fear, or your logistics. You see how all that connects? So the burning question might be, what's the difference between manifestation and creativity, and why didn't I say create your book or write your book? I'm hoping you're starting to get a sense of a little bit of a difference between manifestation and creativity. They share qualities and they work together, but in my mind, creativity is working with measurable concepts and tangibility. And I actually looked up the definition, and it validated that. And it appeals to the 5 senses largely. You're working with touching and feeling and moving objects, and how can I put this together? Things and concepts, because those are tangible with our mind. But you're moving around and seeing what you can make from these things. And that's very functional. We do that all the time. Manifesting is reaching into a realm of the unseen and the unknown. And to bring that into tangibility, you have to become a willing incubator of the information or the idea or the feeling, and then become a conduit to bring that forth into this world. Are y'all following me? Any questions? We can breathe. Yes.
Can you give us an example before you continue on?
Of manifesting?
Yeah, so I can yeah.
Okay.
I'm not sure I quite understand what you're saying.
Well, okay, one example was coming up next, and that is to let you know, so I have 2 examples, and they were actually next, so thank you for validating that. I have an inventor in my extended family, and I've witnessed how easy it is for others to innovate from a great invention. So one is a craft, and one is an art. So art is inspiration, it's inspired. I'm not belittling and I'm not wanting to split hairs because I'm not going to tell someone that theirs wasn't art. So please, for the sake of just understanding a concept, this is fluid. Nothing is a direct straight line when you manifest until you get everything lined up and then bam, it happens and you have no idea how it got there. So that's manifestation. Manifestation appeals to the sixth sense, or the seventh, or the eighth, or the ninth. Is that making it clearer? Okay. So for me, I have a story about how I wrote the book real quick. For me, manifesting, for me, writing The Heart That Rocks Healthcare was a process of manifestation. I started out not knowing what I was going to write. I hired, or how to write, and I hired a book coach. And that was only because I didn't know back then about writing groups and critique groups. Through the process, I ended up networking and learning about them. And wow, thank you for all of y'all's contribution to my exploration with words and writing that when we get together in our groups, and for other speakers from our group sharing their expertise, because these are how we learn. Back then, I was solo. I was alone. Oh, and I felt alone. Now I've learned that we're all one. So I had 9 weeks to write my book, but I didn't know what I was going to write. And this was classic writer's block, right? But I wasn't even a writer yet. So how's that happen? We'll talk a little bit about writer's block, but I mean, it starts sometimes before you even get started, doesn't it? And then, so it took 4 weeks to figure out what to write. And how did I do this? Because it wasn't anywhere in my awareness what I was going to write. So meditation. I had always meditated my whole life. I had gone through some stress, hence the inspiration from my book. And I needed to get over that and get beyond to what was my next destiny. And so I reconnected with my meditation practice, and that helped me organize my thoughts and gain clarity and inspiration to guide me from where I was to where I was destined. So out of this, I manifested the success process. And we're going to go through that. It is a process of manifestation. In my book, it's a process to move from success to stress. Excuse me, from stress to success. Wow, that's like dessert. Stress is dessert spelled backwards. So it's to move, for clarity, I'll repeat that. It's to move from stress to success. And anything that you want to do, or any position you find yourself in, could be your stress, for the sake of the word. And anywhere you want to go or what you want to achieve, even if it's a moment from now, could be your success. So this is a process that, even though it has like 9 steps in it, it seems a little lengthy to show and to tell about. When you use it, it's a very pliable process. You become the orchestrator of it, and you might do 3 steps in one time, or you just might not even realize you did several steps and you're already on step 5. So you can go back and forth, you can revisit parts of it. It's a process, but it's fluid. And again, working in the realm of manifestation, we allow for that. Working in our world that says you have to do it and be it and have it and go, 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 doesn't really allow for it because it's so streamlined. But we're manifesting something that's never been here before, our books, and a relationship with our reader. So this takes time, and the word is cultivate. You want to cultivate this. So I want you to know that you're a manifester too. So breathe that in. How do you experience it when I call you a manifester? And you can just think these through to yourself for right now. What does it feel like in your body? You are a manifester. Now say it to yourself. I am a manifester. I see some reactions. Take note of how that feels different from when I said it and from when you say it, because there's this external world and this internal world. And then there's that way out there world, you know. So what about if I said you're a writer? You are a writer. How does that resonate with you? Now silently say it to yourself. I am a writer. And notice how that feels different from each of us saying it and how you feel that in your body. So I think y'all notice something goes on inside and outside and from the different stimuli. And when you become aware of those two feelings that you had, well, actually, it would be helpful if someone would share. Who would share what they felt with me saying it and then you saying it to yourself, and then the difference between calling you a manifester or a writer. Yes.
So, let's see, I started my book probably 2.5 years ago, and I shared something at one of the things. And I'm leaving feeling very intimidated, like, why do I even think I'm a writer? Where did this idea come from? And Barbara stopped me on the way out, and she said, I love your story. You have to tell it for yourself, and the people behind you who will read this have to hear it. And so it was like, I have remembered that with this little story that is still on the wall in forming, waiting to march into being manifested. But it is something that understanding, like you said, there's a story in me that nobody else has ever told. Nobody has experienced what I experienced, and I need to share that in such a way that they will also be able to experience. So what you said to me, you need to tell it for yourself, which that's why we write, and then you need to tell it for those who are going to read it. So that was really helpful.
Thank you. And that's the conclusion of today. No. Wow, thank you so much. That was beautiful reflection. And it's true, I was just at a meeting Monday night, and they were talking about whether you're, writing for yourself or someone else, and whether it's creative fiction or creative nonfiction or whatever, and what liberties you have, and changing the names and all that kind of stuff. And anybody who's alive might not agree, and this could be like your husband or your mother or mother-in-law or whatever. And the thing is that we are all experiencing things differently. Isn't that an interesting thing to grasp? Like no two of us right now are having the same exact experience or the same exact impressions by or perspectives of what's going on here. Just like I can see this computer and someone else sees it, from all these different directions. So what is it if all you see is this end right there? What is it if you see that, So this is what goes on when we deal with perspective. So you are writing for yourself. I didn't maybe even know how important that was. You are writing for yourself, and so you're owning your perspective. And yes.
I think that words are really, really powerful, and we adopt the vocabulary of a writer, expanded beyond I am a writer, and talk about this is my manuscript, as opposed to this is something I wrote, or here's a little story. This is my manuscript, and I am a writer, and let's confer about this, as opposed to let's chat about it. It's really empowering. It starts to make itself real. When I teach writing at the Ollie program, I always tell my students, you are writing manuscripts. Let's talk about them like professionals. And I think it's terribly empowering.
Yeah. Thank you very much. That's good. Words. We think they're just affecting them, but we're the vibratory instrument that is putting those vibes out there, so it affects us too. Who had their hand up? Yes.
I want to say one more thing, and I'm not trying to blow smoke here, but the first time I said to myself, I am a writer, well, I took a class from you, my sweet lady, Joan. Yes, I know, but I wanted to call her my sweet lady. At the end of the class, and we've done all this stuff, and she tried to get us to own our words, and then she said, now, as you leave, I want you to say, I am a writer. That was just so, oh, wow, I never thought of myself that way. So thank you to you too.
Thank you. And what does that feel like to, when you say I am a writer and you resonate with it, what does that feel like?
Well, when I say to other people, like, they ask, what do you do now that you're retired? And I say, I am a writer. I kind of look for their response. Some of it's a blank stare.
Yes.
Well, that's really exciting, Mary. Another lady I said yesterday, I said to her, I'm writing a book, and she started asking questions. And then I could say, this is my theme, these are my people, like I owned my story and was able to share it.
Is there any feeling attached
Yeah.
with that? What does
Yeah.
it feel like?
Empowered, sad, when I'm saying sad parts.
And what does empowered feel like to you?
Empowered feels like, okay, I have something to say here, and it's important to say it, think about it, say it well, and say it. There's something in me that wants to be
Yes.
said,
Yes. Yeah.
like, that's all I can say, it's in there.
Okay.
And I do meditation too, and sometimes I'll wake up and have a good thought,
Mm-hmm.
but other times I get a thought, and then during the day, somebody needs to also hear that. So I'm
Mhm,
empowered
mhm.
to say something.
Right. Yeah.
That's what empowered.
And I'm noticing that you're saying it's in there.
It's in here
Yeah.
somewhere.
It's in there somewhere.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a thing to discover. Where is your book? Where is your book? Yes.
I worked for years on my book and finally published it and was very excited about it, but for me it was a rather stressful experience. And so I did not claim myself as a writer until you gave me that sign that had my name on it, and
Oh.
underneath was author. And I have that sign sitting right there on my book.
Wow.
And it really said, I did it. I am an author.
Mm-hmm.
And so that sign that you
Thank
gave me
you. Thank you.
made me, empowered me, and made me feel like an author.
Mm-hmm. When I felt this book in my hand, it was like, this is a heavy book. And I was like, when I felt this book, I was like, wow, an ebook doesn't do it for me. This, I'm an author now. So, yes.
I
One
just
more
want to say, when you see your published books, you gave birth.
Yeah.
Thank you. Birth. Remember that. Remember that metaphor.
What I want to say though, and I want to kind of bring it together to you, because there's a couple thoughts. A couple thoughts is I know you're in the medical field, and when you're talking and you're breaking down the word, it's very similar to medical terminology. Am I wrong?
Yes.
You take the first and take the half, and they both mean something, and you put them together. And so that's exactly what I was thinking. The other thing I was thinking was, after writing 4 books, and I'm finally on my 5th, thank you, Jesus. It took
Wow.
a long time.
Congratulations.
But what I want to say is, you know what you want to write when you're. This is for me. You know what you want to write. You basically got the conclusion. You basically got the intro. You know what the content is. How you're going to put the feelings into it. And in the end, when it's published, you manifested it. It becomes something other than you even thought it was going to be.
Yes, yes.
Okay? You
Something you birthed.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
gave
like a
birth.
child becomes something you have no idea
God
what it
bless
is. A
anybody
life
who
of its
wants
own.
to knock my baby. Okay? That's my baby.
That's right. Well, this is one thing that's been, I'll get to just a sec. When I think Bill and I had this conversation one time, just talking about, will they understand it, and how do I want to get it. Was that you and I, Bill? Anyway, just how, when you write, what is your meaning, and will they get it? And something that's, you can do all your centering and things that I'm going to talk about in a minute, and get your alignment, and you pick the right words, and you put them in relationship to the other right words, and you show, don't tell, and all that stuff. And someone still may not get it. And you know what? At least when you're in poetry, it's easier to learn that that's more acceptable because of metaphor. And you may not realize that what you told somebody was a metaphor. But that's one of the things that I learned in writing is that the more specific you are, the more relatable you are. And so it's important to know who you're writing to, know what experience you want them to have by the end of the book, and as they go through it, because that's what draws you through cohesively like a thread, and threads every bit of the words and the sentences and the chapters that you put together. Yes. Oh wait, actually, someone was before Betsy, and then we'll move on after Betsy.
About empowerment, I write fiction, and I am empowered through my characters. Because I allow my characters to do and say what I would do or say at that time, or not. And so I can say, well, you're braver than I am, let's go.
That's beautiful.
Empower me to continue writing and to tell the story.
Wow, that's cool.
So thank you for pointing out those two things that I got from that was when the word empowerment, and then you said stronger, they have more will, they have more might, at least that's what you perceive, because we're all one. We have that ability, we just have to cultivate it. But so that's what I'm looking for when I want y'all to drill down, as you need to find the feeling, because it's all in the feeling, because it's all about heart. Because it's all about manifesting what's in your heart. And so we can logicalize, I'm an author and I wrote this book and I did this, that, and the other, but that kind of has a sterility to it, doesn't it? It's truthful and it's respectable and all that, and you can still learn from it, but it's lacking in the warmth, it's lacking in the vitality, that when you are speaking more from your heart, you're actually imparting something of yourself through your words or through your actions or what have you. One more, Betsy.
Yes, I wanted to reflect a bit more about this process being like childbirth, biological childbirth, which I have never physically experienced, but I feel like I have experienced that and continue to experience that through writing. That I want to say, in my experience, it's real before or whether or not anything ever gets published or I become an author or I do marketing or all that important jazz. But like with a child within, if it's live, it's growing and changing within, and it's real even before I find the words for it. And I'm dependent on God, or however you talk about that world, for the ability to shape some words around it. But the real thing is going on inside. And I believe if it's a living thing, even after it's out there and whatever readers do or don't do with it, those ideas and those feelings continue to grow and can continue to shape my life. So I'm very grateful for that birthing process.
Wow, you said it so beautifully. Thank you. Yes. Thank you. That was beautiful. And I had a thought around that, but you said it. I'm sure you said it very, very well. Thank you. Oh, I know what I was going to say is you bring up, where does writing begin? I'm writing a book, but you're on the beach with the sun. I'm writing a book, but you're jogging. I'm writing a book. Just because of what Betsy said. Your physiology gets aligned, your thoughts get aligned, your hormones get aligned, the stars get aligned, you put your ducks in a row on your desk, and you even line up all of your friends and professionals that you know to help you and coach you. So thank you for that birthing process. Oh, and the other part of that is you said it's real to you, and you just described you were realizing it. So see, it's taking steps toward what we call this reality. You're realizing it. So that's what's happening when you're writing and you're on the beach, which is where I can be found. One point I want to get to real quick here is this feeling. And could you feel either a connection or a disconnection with the concepts of manifester or writer? Could you feel like, what is that? So just one word, describe somebody, what it feels like when you connect with one of those concepts or you disconnect with that. Does anybody have a word for either of those?
Concrete.
Repeat that.
Concrete.
Concrete. Anyone else? I'm thinking of words like attracted or repelled or affirmed or denying or resonant or dissonant. Do any of those words kind of ring true for y'all? I was going to bring my bell. Ring true. When something, I think I have it. I do. When something's true, it has a ring, doesn't it? So, another metaphor. But isn't that true? We don't hear a ring, but sometimes we hear bing in our head somehow. So this again is metaphor and how it reaches into the visualization and the imagination and such. So I want to just give you a demonstration that might give you a feeling so that we can really connect. So probably when I said the first time, you're a manifester, you might have felt a little of this. This is two magnets. So can you imagine what's happening? They won't touch. You feel a little distant. You want to approach it, but then you feel repelled. You want to get close to it, but it's not quite a fit for you. Is that talking to the feelings that you might have had? And then I'm also fairly certain that when I said you're a writer, that you were like, boom. So this is the magnetic forces that are around us that we contain in our words that are unspoken and unseen and intangible. Actually, they're untangible. They're just not, you can't contain them in any way. So the body, that feeling, that repelling and drawing, that's your body's language. Not your mind. Your mind logicalizes, it decides, it defines, and it orders things and all that. It judges, and it gets confused. And we know what confusion feels like, right? Something up here that's just kind of like, but when your body speaks or when the manifestation world is speaking through your body, it's clear. Bing. It's either, this is like a circuit. It's either on and there's flow or it's off. And so that is a good thing to, use a good visualization is that you're making a circuit, not only in your own self, but you make a circuit with your reader, right? You sent it out there, in your books after doing all that stuff, getting in touch and writing it and sending it out there. They buy it, they take it home, they experience it, they tell a friend, they buy it. It's all, and then the thank you comes back to you with emails and little green things that we put in our bank account, whatever. It's a circuit. You see, that was a grand circuit. So I want to give you an idea of a circuit real quick. Because we're energetic beings. Does anybody discount that? And it's okay to, because we don't get told that we are, and you're demonstrating that now. I'm looking for a pattern in the room because I'd like a nice long line. We've got a nice row here, and if you could at least are you able to join hands together, and then at least the next row and y'all join hands? I just want to show a demonstration of a circuit. This is a little wand here, so y'all join hands, and actually if we could go backward. Well, actually, okay, do you want to stand up and hold hands? And then I'll be in on it then. Blew my secret. So it's obviously I can make a circuit. Oh shoot.
Thank you.
Okay, so I can't be in it. So we need the two ends that come together somehow. So
Susan?
So if you'll hold on to this. So now There you go.
Okay. I need to check that.
So obviously, there's not a there's a break in the circuit right now. So look at how the energy is connecting through this whole thing. Now someone just let go. Well, two people let go. So you guys always hold on, so they got that. So
All right.
Actually, Barbara, what
it's a circuit. It's just a battery, I think, or something. They're the wires and lights and a sound. And it needs you to add the energy to it to work. So it's not a battery.
Amazing.
There's no
You're
battery in
expecting
it.
a whole lot more out of that group.
Well, now, like maybe one of you just kind of touch with a fingertip the person beside, like finger to finger. So it's not conducting through cloth so well.
Okay.
Because sometimes you can make it a little
Not
softer.
as strong.
I can still feel it.
I bet when you.
So anyway, this is a circuit. This is what's going on in your brain when you have an idea. This is what's going on.
Catherine,
Thank you.
feeling buzz in your fingertips?
Yeah.
So
I felt the energy just going right through.
come to a Gold Country Writers speaker meeting and get buzzed, huh?
Yeah, I need that.
So we've kind of touched on this, but writer's block. Just be aware of how you experience it. And yes, we all get frustrated and all that, but what's the feeling of getting like, the brake just went on? Or is it a slow grind down where the more you work on it, the windier it gets and the tighter, and yeah. And that's because once you feel like you're not on, then you get anxious and that stops it even
Yes.
more, and then you
Yes.
get mad and then that stops it even more, and then you get frustrated and then you tear your paper up and now you've lost it and that makes it even more. So it's a compounding process. That's natural. A lot of it happens before you even realize it. And the empowerment, the way to get empowered over that and to get back into flow is to learn to be aware and to learn my little ABC technique that we're going to do, and that'll help you get flowing again. So what do you, and so flow feel, in contrast to block, what does flow feel like?
Energy.
And okay, so it feels like energy, and how do you have to feel for that energy to flow? Yes?
I feel like I'm visualizing a movie. I can just see everything happen just like a movie, and then it goes into my fingers to type out.
Okay.
And I'm in that block situation right now.
Never claim it. It's attacking you.
That's right.
Yeah.
It is attacking me.
I'm moving out of it right now. Well, yes, and it's important to get to the feeling. And we're writers, so we're supposed to show, don't tell, and we're supposed to appeal to the feelings and the senses. So, and it's hard. So I feel sluggish. I feel cramped. I feel stuck. I feel squeezing. I feel nauseous. Those are feelings. And this is your body speaking to you. And if you pay attention, you'll learn that this is telling you don't go there. Dissonance. Okay? And then when you feel this, it's saying, yes, the waters are parting and you can now walk. And so that's resonance. And I think I saw a hand, did I? Yeah.
I was just gonna say, when I feel like I'm in the flow or the zone, it feels like I lose consciousness entirely.
Yeah.
I am totally unaware of the world around me. Hours can go by, light can change, and I lose that physical body sense. And it's more like a floating in a bubble, a cocoon. You know, and it's funny if you've been in it for a while and you kind of startle awake because the phone rings or something. It's like you have no idea what time it is or where you are, right? And I think that's part of it, is your body kind of gives over and away to whatever that creative part of you is.
Yes, thank you. I couldn't have said it better. Thank you for bringing that up. It is that other world. It is the world of awareness, which is not the same thing as thought. So, and we're going to talk about more about awareness, but we won't have to repeat this. We can just refer to it because that was a very, very good thing. Your mind loses track, but you're full on. So that brings up, if your mind is off, seemingly, but you are full on, then where are you? Are you in your mind? Because your mind, you just said, has lost track. Your mind keeps track of facts and time schedules and all, and this kind of thing. So where are you when this is going on? And I have a feeling you're at play with the universe. And so how can you be here in this, but be at play in the universe? Maybe you're not this. Maybe you're not the tangible. Maybe you are unseen and unknowable, except through how you express in your writing and your vibrations and in your touch and in your presence. So this is a realm. It's a state of being. It's a realm. We dwell there. Even when we're sitting right there, we are dwelling within our body. We are dwelling within the present moment. We are dwelling with manifestation. How's that sitting with you?
It's heavy.
It's heavy. Take a breath. Ah, everybody breathe. Yeah, yeah. And that can be translated in a lot of different languages. I'm sticking with manifestation and the privilege and the excitement that, that brings to us, that we can reach that state. I saw a couple of hands. Yeah, up front.
I lost track with the closed circuit.
Okay.
I think my mind sort of went to the circuit and forgot about the point.
Okay,
So what
excellent.
was the,
So we have a block here. It doesn't have to be writer's block. It can be a block in anything. And a block, whether you describe it as, the door's blocking me and I can't get past, or this concept is blocking me and I can't get past, it's energy. Energy needs to flow. So that circuit was just showing how we're electrical. And we're also magnetic. We're electrical beings. We have a heartbeat that you can see the electrical tracing. You can see brainwave electrical tracings. They've now done heart wave electrical tracings. And so we are electrical. We convey energy. And so that's what that was demonstrating. And then when you interrupt it, at least by contact, that was interrupted. Perhaps people were still felt connected on a different level. You following now?
yes.
Thank you for a good question. Yes.
When you were talking about being in this realm or whatever,
Mhm.
when I get to that point, I feel like I'm where I want my reader to be. I'm no longer the writer, I'm the reader. And that's what empowers me then to keep going, because
Thank you.
I forget that I'm writing, because I
Mhm.
can't even hardly keep up with my fingers when I get to that point.
Can everybody just breathe in what she just said? She feels like she's where she wants her writer to be. You can list all these things. You got to know your writer. You got to, like their pains and their sorrows and their wishes and their dreams and all that kind of stuff. You want to know they want action pack or otherworldly stories. You can know all that about them. But if you can put yourself, if you can be in the space and having the experience they want to, then you're going to know what to write. And that's the number one way. And it could be called meditating to get there. That's the number one way to get through writer's block, is join your reader, in my opinion. Join your reader. You're trying to write. They want to read. They desire to read, and you hope they read. But there's something away, and it's that trying to write. And of course, writing is in this world. That's creative, the actual action. You're moving your muscles, and you're thinking of words and trying to get it grammatically correct. Get into flow. Get into flow. So write on. Don't stop yourself. Like I'm worse on a computer. When I'm writing, My hand is connected better to my heart, and I just, maybe it doesn't make sense and it's messy, but it just been going. But when I tried switching to writing on a computer or typing, there's something about this comes down and even this comes down, but when I had to go from here to there, it just didn't, it just didn't go. It just didn't go right for me. It was a big exercise. I've gotten a lot better, but I have to be in a different space. When I need to get unblocked, I pull out my pencil and paper or pen and paper. And I get into the space I want that reader. And that's, and the main space is I'm more relaxed because that's familiar to me. I feel more at attention when I'm at the computer. And so I don't want my reader in that at attention. I want them relaxed, taking the information in. I saw a hand, yes.
I just wanted to go back to her feelings because, and the magnet. When I'm writing or reading especially, I get so pulled in. I got so pulled into this one's book. That's the
What a
time,
compliment.
I was born in the wrong time. I wanted to be born in the time her book was written. And it was like, I went to another world. And I hated to leave it, to put it down, not be able to read. And that pull is just so strong, so strong.
Wow, very neat. So, so the emotion put into it has a charge, right? We charge things with emotion. And think of, okay, more definitions. When something is, when you charge something with energy, and I just lost the word that I was going to say. Writer's block. Speaker's block. Those darn words. That's right, pick up my pencil. What was I going to say? Oh, boo. Charge and energy, it'll come back to me. And that's one thing that does. And do y'all process in your sleep?
Yes.
Now, where are you? You're sleeping. Where are you? Think about it. I don't have the answer, but I know it's real, right? It's real. You can go to sleep with a problem and somehow put it in a format of a question or whatever. In the morning, you come up with some ideas that might lead you to the answer. Bing. Okay. So, we know I said I wasn't going to teach y'all to write and all the little details about that, but okay, this is next. So we, with other things, we already talked about the one thing to do when you're blocked, right? Breathe and go through a little meditative process. Get yourself in the same space you want your readers. Look at your reader's eyes. Talk to your reader. One thing I learned, I started my book by writing a love letter to my ideal reader. And it was the most amazing experience. And when you write a love letter to somebody, you show understanding and you're really opening to their experience. You see how good that is? And we don't write letters, we write little tweets. But we don't write love letters anymore. And so that is a very good exercise to connect to your ideal reader. So that's the number one way. But you know what? You can get up, you can move, you can play music, anything that inspires you, anything that gets you in the flow, like going for a jog, or puts you in that space where you leave your body like a jog, people zone out. Drinking water is an easy, simple thing. Everybody drink some water. Because yes, bottoms up.
Right?
Because when you're thinking, when you're manifesting, when electrons are moving, whether you're in a crowd of people, things get stuck like static electricity. You see all the metaphors? We know so much. Are we remembering? Are we reconnecting as I'm going through this? We know so much stuff that we don't know. So it's like static electricity. And so we need to learn how to discharge that. We need to learn how to work with that. And water is a simple way. They call it the universal solvent. And because it's ionically, it washes away the extra unnecessary static in your body, because your body's got a chemistry thing going on and an electrical thing. a biological thing. So basically, we could make a whole big old list, but basically you need to tend to your health in this state when your brain is clogged or when you're in your block. And this is just something, when I was a well-being consultant, I had a practice, and it's actually, I started out with a stress management practice. Now, where's the joke that I end up totally stressed out 40, 50 years later, not 40, 30 years later, and I end up, getting my butt kicked from it. So, but I had devised this, and 7 healthy habits you can live with. So you can pick up one of these somewhere. Oh, over there on my table by the books. I made a bunch of copies if you want a copy. But consciousness is my subject with awareness. And so everything is conscious, meaning be aware of your activity, your breathing, your choices, your eating, your gratitude, your listening, and your respite. Those things if you tend to those things, that's ways to help you physically, emotionally, mentally, and even energetically get around block. Okay? So here, now look at this picture and tell me if you don't feel flow. Whatever that body and being is connected with, it's coming from so many different directions and realms, but he is the conduit. I don't know if it's a he. Sorry for that. That person, that being is the conduit. The body is the conduit, and the being is a willing, or the body is the incubator, and the being is a willing conduit to express through the body and through all of our vibrations and senses and all that stuff into this world, some amazing sounds. So, I know that all of y'all here know that feeling. Do you know what feeling I'm talking about? Because we already talked about block and flow. Maya Angelou calls it the greatest agony. When you have an untold story. So we're talking about getting in touch with that book and moving it from the unseen, from in here to out there. And so again, know that feeling, and I think a lot of y'all contributed to helping us understand, and the rest of us need to really, just take a notice of what that's like for us. When we say, I'm going to write a book, I have a book in me. Where is the book? Is the book in your head? Is it in your heart? Is it in your stomach? Your big toe? I don't know. Find it. Because that's what's going to speak to you, and that's where you need to go to help mobilize and express that. So, can someone give me maybe 2 or 3 words, and it might be 2 or 3 people, one word. One word that it feels like that you have a book in you, or that you're writing, that you have a book to write. We've said some of them today. Thank you.
Adventure.
Adventure. Sherry?
Labor pains.
Labor pains. Okay.
Obsession.
Close enough. It's a concept. Labor pains. It's a definition. A definition. Okay, one more?
Obsession.
Obsession. Okay. So labor pains. Oh, adventure. Okay. So that feeling of adventure, labor pains, and obsession, thank you, is the universe touching you.
Is the what?
The universe touching you. It's the land where manifestation comes from, touching you. That's why you can feel it. You didn't think this is like labor. It came to you after you had it. It's a feeling. It arrived energetically in you, and you interpreted it. So that is the universe touching you and showing you a purpose. So I just want to share so is that making sense?
Yeah.
Again, a transducer, do y'all know what a transducer is? A transducer is a thin membrane, and I don't know exactly how it works. I worked with a lot of them in ICU and stuff, but there's pressure on one side, and it conveys it into electrical activity on the other side. So someone can have a pressure monitor in an ICU, and you can look up there and say, see, this is their blood pressure. Boom, 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 boom. So that's what's going on. There's a transducer there. We are transducers. We generate energy, but we also transduce energy. And so, you know, we can come into a room where there's an argument going on, and we transduce that energy, and we feel horrible, and we leave. So, but we also can learn how to not connect with that and to stay in ourselves, our own beings, and be strong and centered
I
and
have a
empowered.
question,
Okay.
can you restate? It has pressure on one side and it conveys it into what?
Yeah, it transduces it into, where's my hug?
Energy form.
Do you have a better word?
Wavelength.
Wavelength. The pressure on this transduces, changes it into an electrical
Yeah.
wave.
So it's like a receptor and sender.
Right, sender and receiver, you can hear a noise, what, and it changes it, like, well, you know, your ear. How about when an eardrum, okay, there's wavelengths coming in. See, we don't really hear something. It's wavelengths coming in, and the eardrum flexes and sends signals to the part of the brain that interprets it. Is that amazing?
It is.
So that's hearing. So we transduce all the time. You know, pressure on my heart, ache in my stomach, you know, those are transducer type things. And transducer, I don't know if these two concepts go together, but I think they do. There's something called piezoelectric. Piezoelectric is pressure making electricity. So it's the same kind of thing. It's just a different apparatus that's that's changing it. And so pressure, like or piezo, when you strike a flint, that pressure and friction, you get a spark. So it's changing it.
Barbara,
Yes.
that can also relate to someone who has healing hands. And so they can place
Mwah.
the hands over the person that needs the healing.
Mhm.
And there is a transducer, or it's a language, it's a Latin
Our
word.
skin or our energy field translates it, yeah. So Catherine was doing this earlier. Everybody go like this. So we're remembering. So now, take your hands just a little bit apart, and do they tingle?
Yes.
Okay, now slowly move them together. And you might have to hold your breath, but it's better if you breathe. Can you feel those coming together in like a thickening, just a slight thickening? Feel heat? Anything else? Okay, so what that is that static electricity. And I have another little toy here. So this is a tube with just some styrofoam balls in it. And so and they're sticking, they're already sticking to the side. Can y'all see that? It's a little difficult, but if I, rub my hand here and watch, didn't do it. Maybe I got to do it on here. So if I build up the electricity here, and now I put my finger here,
There you go.
Look at that.
so there's something going on there. So we do that to everybody all the time. We're pushing buttons, creeping their skin, getting under it. So that's what's going on. Whatever that is right there. Show, don't tell. I can't tell. Yeah.
I want to just tell you something fantastic that you can do. Anyone could learn this art. I read a book. So I had 7 children with no pain because in my mind, I was able to relax all the muscles involved. I've had children in my clothing, and I've had children way too soon because I practice this. And you can use it going to a doctor's office and bring your blood pressure down. I can go through that same process and bring it down to 107.
Would you come up here and teach that? No. That sounds handy. And I hope to estimate that with what I was going to say, because that's the same thing you can do. So what to getting around block and getting into flow, because I call it self-regulation. That's how I was taught to refer to it, because you become aware of something and you want to change it, And you work with it in such a way that you change your breathing, you change your thinking, you change your heartbeat, you change your nervous system and your neural activity. Like when we get blocked, the fear center in our body is just like, it's primitive. It's like an amoeba. Withdraw, and then when it feels safe, you start to relax again. That's all it does. It excites us into fight, flight, or freeze. So writer's block is the freeze part. And most of us grew up hearing about fight or flight. We didn't hear about freeze, but writer's block is the freeze part. And I mean, if you're still moving, you're doing all right. You just got to catch that and and then Tai Chi that energy into a nice flow over here. But if you're blocked, you got to get out of it and get started. So thank you. That was a great example and of what we can do. It's your physiology, your neuromuscular, endocrine, chemical, all that biological circuitry that you're regulating. Okay, so I'll be interested when I get there if it compares anything to what you did. So I just wanted to say real quick that because this is kind of more of the manifestation aspect, and I started writing my first book when I was about 7 or 8. It just popped into my head like a toaster, bread goes bing. Like that's where I remember feeling it. Bing, I'm gonna write a book. And I immediately started writing on that impulse. Now I didn't know how to write back then, but I did it. I didn't question it. I was a doer at that moment. And what's funny about that age, around 7 or 8, the first 7 years of your life, they say that you're just programmable. You're not self-aware. So just as soon as I got the slightest little self-awareness, I felt like I had something to say, which I think is hilarious. And that was worthy of writing down. And so that's perspective, isn't it? I was like, bing, I woke up. So let me tell you about it. And my title and my first chapter were named the same thing, and that was when I was a little girl. So again, perspective. I was a little girl and grown up now because I'm aware of myself. And so I have a holistic perspective on writing, in case you didn't notice. Holistic, all sides. And I just want to say that if you feel called or moved in any way to write a book, that's a blessing. Because you're being shown something that all of us seek, which is a means for expression of your purpose, gifts, and potentials. It's the answers to who am I and what am I meant to do. Did you realize that? I realized it as I was writing this. That's when I really realized that. So I realized and I recognized this was true. So acting in fear of this truth or failing to act like I did since I was 7 for almost 50 years, not writing, not finishing that or writing anything else. That's a bitter road to take. How long have you held your book in you without getting out? Just think about it. You don't have to answer that. Acting with this fact and truth and from it is what I call healthy living. So health to me is flow. Health is expression. Life is breath. Life is about flowing and expressing. So what's just again, within your own mind, what's your definition of health? And how do you manifest it? And it could be through your writing. What an amazing thing. So as I said, I had so many unbirthed ideas and inventions for improvements and books during the years that followed. It took almost 50 years later that I wrote my book. And it came to me this time in my heart. I had matured. I'd gotten to know my heart. And so what a much richer experience. I do admire people who can be told, write about the weather, and they can just write. I do have to even bring the weather more to heart in order to get into my writing flow. And so it was a great time of change in my life, and I was challenged during that time with a serious illness. And I just want, this is more metaphor and definitions, and also the way the body communicates to you. So this illness, I call it an illness of suppression, because I'd been suppressing these important parts of me for so long. I collected so many ideas and, just not acted on them. And I was always busy. So Louise Hay wrote a book, and I'm sorry the cover's missing, but it's well worn. My other copy, the pages are actually like the bindings given way. So yeah, this has been such an important book for me. So the area for my for the illness that I had was in the neck. It was a gland. So glandular problems, poor distribution of get up and go ideas. Didn't that make you want to cry? When I realized this, so I mean, I was like, oh, it's in my throat, communication. Yeah, from the heart to the brain, it was blocked. So those are a couple of things. Now you look up another word in here. It inflammation. It was an inflammation thing involving my immune system. So inflammation is itis, which is related to fear, seeing red, inflamed thinking. So yeah, I was getting upset. I was in an upset position, as I was getting more and more frustrated in life, not realizing my purpose fully. I mean, being a nurse was amazing. I wouldn't trade that for anything. But there was still, I used to say, I love my nursing knowledge. I'm looking for another, oh my gosh, I'm looking for another way to express it. Look at me. That's manifestation. You don't know what you say. I spoke prophecy, if you will, right? I said, this is what I want to do. Now look, y'all are helping me right now realize that. That's the power of manifestation. Wow. Okay, so one more thing is that it was hyperthyroid, which means thyroid was hyper, overactive. Extreme disappointment at not being able to do what you want to do. Always fulfilling others, not the self. This is the body, oh boy, this is the body speaking to you, okay? And that's why I said it's a rough road if you don't take heed. So we better just get really quickly aware of, I want to have time for questions at the end, but we've been doing a lot of questions along the way, and I appreciate that because I think it's really helped us become dynamic and more meaningful, really settling in to our understanding. So I, a long time ago, devised, so you have to be willing to get out of your box if you want to get it from in here to out there. And what does it take to write a book? Voila. That's how easy it is, right? Because we all just discussed what happens in here, but everybody else just sees, I'm writing a book, and here it is. So, well, you are the miracle, because you are the transducer that translates this energy and information into this world, into something usable and tangible. So, meditation. That is me in my old well-being office. That's a wallpaper thing. So, so are you ready to unleash the miracle? Like I said, meditation's really what the tool that has helped me, and I think it is the number one tool, some form of it. I'm not sold on any one form, and I know some are researched and they have highly respectable means of in a process to learn, but the thing is get in touch with you. So you want to be, oh, I keep doing this, see? Sorry, aware, relaxed, and coherent. That's what you want to do. You want to become more aware, you want to relax, and coherence is really a term that we use, but I learned more about it when I had my training with Heart Math. That's an organization in the Santa Cruz Mountains that studied the power of the heart, the energy of the heart. And think of what we say. It's the matters of the heart. My heart aches. I took it to heart. My heart's broken. My heart's uplifted. The heart is a really important area of the body and being to pay attention to. So coherent is when you're, buzzing is when you're entrained with your brain, right? You're like, you're highly effective, everything's streamlined. That is high processing. That is when you're entrained with your brain. When you're entrained with your heart, everything, your thoughts, your breath, that's called coherent. So that's the word, coherent. And the thing is, well, I don't want to lose the presentation. So when we have an energy field, and I can show a slide maybe afterwards. I'm just a little concerned about changing the presentation right now to something that's on the internet. It would tax my skills maybe. But at any rate, it's like a donut shaped field, like you see on a magnet. There's a north and south pole, and the energy comes up and goes out. That's called a torus. That's what one way of looking at our energy fields. So when two energy fields come together, then they start feeding into each other. And these energy fields, especially the one around the heart, they've measured like 3 to 6 feet away, easy. But they expect that it goes a long, long way, all the way to your reader's heart, as a matter of fact. So they've done research and shown that, like after 9/11, there's this World Coherence Project. That's not the exact name, and I apologize, HeartMath. But it's they have put sensors all around the world now since 9/11, and but they had some in place, and so we're getting a bigger picture of this. But when 9/11 happened, like it's like a seismograph. Here's the pulse of the world. And when 9/11 happened, and actually it was a split second before, meaning it was an intuitive reaction. To the exact time that 9/11 happened, there was a huge spike in a couple of them. And it kept going, and that was supposedly, they proposed that was the wave of realization that went around the world as people got the news. And it was realized in their bodies as they shocked, and they emitted this energy field, and their torus was, their heart torus was communicating with their mind and their body and with the earth's torus. And so that's what they were measuring, was the earth, but that's how we influence the world and how you influence your reader. So it's easy as ABC to be a manifester and to get over the block and do this. So it's awareness, breath, and center. So let's just take a minute and get aware. So if you want to just start by easing yourself into this moment the way you are most comfortable. It might be a breath, might be closing your eyes, shifting a little bit, swallowing, loosening your shoulders, and then just tune in to this state that we've been talking about, that's expansive beyond your mind, beyond your head, beyond your knowledge. It's open, it's expansive. It might seem empty, but it's really full of potential. And dwell here for a moment. Now, awareness is carried, awareness can be like a laser beam if you want to focus it on something, and then it can also beam wider and be more inclusive into the full expanse of itself. So where you put your awareness is where you are dipping into that field of the infinite, and it giggles like you tickle it with your awareness. So if you come with an intention, that awareness might start to form something. So your breath, just feel it coming into your nose.
Speak up.
Oh, sorry, I'm going there too. I apologize. So you can, thank you. So you can feel it coming into your nose, going through your sinuses, coming down into your chest, expanding. Even your diaphragm moves down into your belly, like you fill your being, and then you release it in relaxation. So just get into a nice, smooth, slower than normal flow with your breath, and notice that you feel buoyant. You feel light. With breath, you can even feel levitated, like you're not even sitting in the chair anymore. And that is joining with your awareness. So breath carries awareness, and awareness can guide the breath. And now, where do you want to go? Where do you want this to take you? Let's go to our center. Where is your center? Breathe and find a central point where things are balanced, even where things are okay. It's a stillness, but yet there's strength. Is it in your mind? Is it in your stomach? Maybe it's in your heart, which is a common place. Maybe put your hand where your awareness is. So if it's in your head or on your shoulder or on your heart, put your hand where your awareness is. And breathe into that. And this is the space. It's very common to be around your heart. This is the space where you can relax if you're tired or if you're stressed. This is the space where you can bring a question if you're troubled or if you're curious or if you want to manifest. This is the space where you can respond from in an awkward situation, in a loving situation, even an angry situation. Come to this space for empowerment. Or for power. And if you use the inspiration from your breath and the energy and awareness around your center, you will become empowered. Because knowledge is power, but using it and applying it successfully, you become empowered. And so now you can just allow a little bit deeper breath and come back to this space and time. Open your eyes, maybe drink some water, stretch if you need to, swallow. How was that? So can you see how awareness, breath, and center, that's the little meditative tool. I used it with my clients for well-being and stress. People I've worked with, the colleagues, nurses, and EMTs have used it, and they've taught the person that's on the stretcher all stressed out how to do this. So it has a lot of mileage behind it, but use it and have it become user-friendly for you, because it is a good tool if you find that for yourself. So this tool is the foundation of the success process. If you get stuck at any of the steps, you breathe. And so we're going to go quickly through this because this will summarize the presentation, but we've talked about most of it. And we've shown each other most of it. So we know about awareness. It's expansive. We can dwell there. Breath. You follow your breath. So this is how, when you want to manifest stuff, these are the things you go through to get it from in here to out there. Follow your breath, slow it and deepen it. Find your center. Oh boy. Did I go in the wrong direction? Okay, so these are the steps. And I want to go to the pictures because they're prettier. Awareness is step one. Once you're aware, could you feel yourself open and expand? That's called holding space. Holding space for positive possibilities. Okay, so you're open to being a manifester, something coming through you. When you find that space, shift your being into it. And it's that awareness, just shift into that space of possibility. Y'all were talking about being able to feel shift from the outside to the inside. This is more internal and deeper and wider of a shift. Unlock internal wisdom. That's that space where you can bring your problems, your questions, your ideas to. Internal wisdom is that body language we've been talking about and the transducing effect of what the universe is trying to tell us. The center is your place of power. Choose. This is another really empowering thing that we don't realize. Every action we're choosing, even if we don't consciously do it. So we want to consciously choose. And when you choose, you're starting to become coherent with whatever you are wanting to manifest and whatever forces are at. Elevate. When you're at sea level, all you see is the bumps and the ripples and maybe a few big, huge waves, right? So, remember Dead Poet Society?
Yes.
Yeah, he got up higher. I'm not going to do that, but that's what we're talking about. Getting a different perspective. And the perspective is not always a physical one, like standing above it. It's the position of the heart. Like, elevate your heart. The Sufis believe that you can turn your heart. You turn it toward truth and love, or you can turn it away. You can turn it up, to, worship or whatever, and you can turn it down toward shame. And so this is the elevation that we're talking about. I'm sorry y'all can't see it very well. This scale, I won't go into who devised it, but it goes from shame all the way up to enlightenment. And shame and guilt and apathy at the bottom, those are de-energizing emotions. And if you're feeling that and frustrated, all you gotta do is take a breath and bring it up a notch. And if you have the feeling in your center, in your heart, create that feeling like, I do care, I am grateful. And not just the word, but feel grateful, become grateful. You will be realizing it, and you will elevate and see a totally different thing before you, like maybe an opportunity instead of an obstacle. See yourself with your desired results. This is me in the Caribbean where I lived, and when I lived there, everything there beamed back at me exactly what I wanted in life. It was a wonderful experience, and it was another manifestation story that I got to move there. So see yourself with your desired results. Remember the magnets? It's going to pull you. You're pulling it toward it with your desire, and it's going to pull you toward it. Because it wants to come into being, because it's your wish. So the next thing is step forward in positive action. And this is me. Took a lot of steps to get where I was. This is over 13,000 feet. I was living in the Caribbean, and over maybe 2 or 3 days of climatizing, we hiked, my friend and I hiked to over 13,000 feet. And this is what success, like writing my book, this is what it felt like. So walk forward in positive action. And the other thing is, just know that as long as you keep your desire and your wish, and you keep that warm and keep putting energy into it, just by revisiting it, everything you do will lead you to it. Even though it's right there, and you go over here and you take this, this roller coaster ride or whatever, you still needed that information. Change that obstacle into an opportunity, and it will lead you to right where you need to go. I think we've talked about most of my lessons. And so here's to your heart-inspired success. Wow. Y'all mean a lot to me. I really appreciate it.